It's about a megalomaniacal weapons manufacturer who has he's moved his company to an island, declared the island a nation, and himself president. And in doing this, he has adopted three children in the sort of course of the company history. He's adopted three children, given them to his biological scientist as the first human super soldier prototypes, basically. So these kids are going through rounds and rounds of research and development and lab time and horrible side effects. And, this is not this is not Captain America style like super soldiers. This is not like take a serum and then go and chase Nazis 5 minutes later.
Hello and welcome to this special FanFiAddict interview. I'm Frasier Armitage, part-time robot, full-time nerd, and joining me today is the creator, the star, the writer, the genius behind the Dex Legacy. It is the Dark Princess of Sci-fi herself, the incredible, the incomparable, the Inkpenable, Emily Inkpen. Hi, Emily. How are you?
Thank you. I now feel like Daenerys Targaryen with like a whole long list of names before mine, and Jon Snow's about to come up and say, this is Jon Snow.
Yeah, well, our accents are kind of similar. I can totally pull off a Snow for you.
Actually, yeah, that's true.
Every time that you come on, I'm just going to keep adding to it. It's going to get to the point where it takes 5 minutes to introduce you.
Except I wouldn't be the breaker of chains. I would be the breaker of characters.
Yes.
Know?
If we're going down that route, there are so many things you could be. That would be amazing. You're here today because your audio drama, The Dex Legacy, you are releasing season 2, and it is amazing. I got to listen. I bought the box set. I got to listen to the whole thing, and I absolutely loved it. For anybody who isn't familiar with the Dex Legacy, any of these listeners, could you give anybody who's listening in the little bit of like a breakdown as to what season 1 is, what the Dex Legacy is, and then what people can expect from this second season?
Okay, so a little synopsis that is not going to take 6 hours. So the Dex Legacy is about it's a dark political science fiction series. It's about a megalomaniacal weapons manufacturer who has he's moved his company to an island, declared the island a nation, and himself president. And in doing this, he has adopted three children in the sort of course of the company history. He's adopted three children, given them to his biological scientist as the first human super soldier prototypes, basically. So these kids are going through rounds and rounds of research and development and lab time and horrible side effects. And, this is not this is not Captain America style like super soldiers. This is not like take a serum and then go and chase Nazis 5 minutes later. This is like long, drawn out, excruciating testing and development of these kids, and they've been tortured in this lab since they were about 2 years old. So it's all they've ever known. And yeah, so that's the premise of the Dex Legacy. And that's like the backstory. And season 1 basically gives you a taste of their lives in different circumstances and at the hands of their creators. And so you see them in war, you see them in the lab, you see them in training, you see them, you see them in these different sort of chapters. And it builds a complete picture of what Dex Industries and Dex Island is about. And yeah, I mean, I think I do it in an exciting way. It's, all of the episodes, it's an intense story. And yeah, so season 1 is basically a full breakdown of what's going on. And in the background, you've got Dex Island finally becoming recognized as a nation in its own right on the international stage, because before that people were reticent to do it because they were a company and they just moved to an island, and they were like, well, you can't just declare yourself a nation, we have to declare you a nation. And finally they get international recognition, and it's because of what happens in episode 1, which is an enormous bomb that wipes out an entire country, and it terrifies the world enough that they're like, whoa, we don't want to own you. Basically, we don't want to take responsibility for these people. Fine, you're your own country. And yeah, that's how season 1 goes down. Season 2 follows on directly from the final episode of season 1. There is a big cliffhanger at the end. We follow on immediately from that cliffhanger, and I'm not going to spoil anything. It's a very intense season. For season 1 takes place over the course of about 3 months. Season 2 is a week. So that's how much action is sort of like happening in those few days. And yeah, it's a very different experience, I think. Much more intense in many ways.
I think that my favorite way of ever hearing the Dex Legacy described is it's not about people who take a serum and 5 minutes later are chasing Nazis. That I think is my favorite little soundbite about what it's like. It is very adult, it is very grown up, it is very mature, and it is awesome. Last time that we spoke for FanFiAddict, you and Chris Gregory, the producer of Alternative Stories, were here talking about your Kickstarter campaign for season 2. It went very, very well. You got funded.
Yes,
it all got made.
Yeah.
Now that the season is made, how are you feeling now compared to how you were feeling then?
Oh, okay. So there's something about doing a Kickstarter where suddenly at the end of it, you realize that all these people have paid for it. And that is an enormous, like for me, that's an enormous amount of pressure. I know that some people who do Kickstarters just take the money and they're like, oh, great, we can do what we want now. Whereas for me, I was like, now we are duty bound to deliver an excellent product to these people who have put money behind us. And, that it felt like a big responsibility, but at the same time, I think it should. It's like anyone who takes money for something should be thinking about the people who donated and fulfilling that expectation and want on their part. So yeah, we're eternally grateful for everyone who supported us. Like, it's insane. I was doing the Kickstarter packages and everything yesterday, and there are so many, and it just goes to show how many people were behind us. And just stacking those envelopes on top of each other, it was so humbling. It was like, crap, like it's a thing, Yeah.
Yeah, it is a thing. You did it. You made
Yeah.
it. It's amazing. Your process in making season 1 was very different to your process in making season 2. For anybody that doesn't know, season 1 was made very much on the fly, week by week, putting episodes together before they were released. Season 2 was recorded all together. It was all written beforehand. It was recorded in a professional studio. How does the making of season 2 compare to season 1? What were the pros and cons of season 2? As opposed to the things that you lived through in getting it off the ground?
Okay, so yeah, hugely different. For anyone, actually, I'm going to plug something here. So for anyone who wants to find out exactly all of the details of season 1, there is a book called the Dex Legacy Season 1 Collected Scripts and Commentary. And it includes all of the scripts plus all of the methods of how it was made. And it was nuts. Retrospectively, Chris and I look back on that and we're like, what the hell were we thinking? I had no idea where it was going. Episode 1 and episode 2 were released as part of his Alternative Stories and Fake Realities anthology show. And then we decided to make a full season. And so I didn't know it was a full season until I was writing episode 3. I had no idea. And that that was definitely a challenge. Like, we were releasing episode 4. I hadn't even written the finale. I didn't know how it was going to end. I was terrified. And we were releasing every 2 weeks as opposed to every 1 week, because there was so much to do between every episode. And there's a list in this book of all the things that we had to do to get every episode ready. And when I read that list and I think this is what we had to do in a 2-week window, it's nuts. And it was, I think it was a period of like 4 months of insanity. And then it was over, and it was really weird. Season 2 has been really different because obviously I wrote all of the scripts at once, and then we did the Kickstarter, and that was intense in its own way. Doing a Kickstarter is a very intense experience and rewarding in so many ways beyond the money. It's amazing, but it is a big thing. And then going into the studio and recording with the actors, which was incredible. The studio environment really, really elevated it. And just having them there together to direct as well, to correct pronunciations, to just be there and support and answer questions on the fly. It was really great. The only, like, the main difference there, like the one thing about season 2 is that it was long. I was working on it up until release. I'd been working on the season for a year, because that was how long I was writing the scripts, and then we were doing the prep and everything, and then making it. It was a year of work as opposed to just 4 months of insanity. And so, yeah, there is something about that. It's like intense 4 months of insanity compared to a full year of just work. And obviously the full year approach is better, but it is still a full year. And at the end of that, on the lead up to release, at that point, I think lead up to release at the end of a product like that is always going to be exhausting. Like, it's high energy stuff. You're nervous, you're doing the final things. There's always more to do than you think there is in the final 2-week window. Like, it's always stressful, I think. So especially when you're holding down a full-time job as well, and you've only got a few hours in the evening, and you've got to like get everything in. And yeah, so it's like by the time we released episode 1, I was tired. And but yeah, sort of full year and then just tired, as opposed to, season 1 we were in survival mode basically.
Kind of feel like the new audio dramatists who are listening out there and thinking, how am I going to do this? The measured approach is probably a more one that you would probably recommend, but just be aware of the time aspect. Would you say that that's fair?
I would say that that's fair. I mean, we still, the good thing about recording remotely, which we did for all of season 2, so for all of season 1, you can get actors from all over the world. And we still had to do parts of that because the Kickstarter was great, but we couldn't afford to fly people over from San Francisco, and for a day in the studio, we couldn't afford that. So we still had to do some asynchronous recording and everything ahead of time. I mean, I would have definitely plugged for doing all of the season ahead of time of season 1. Chris is much more of a time optimist than me, and was like, no, we can do it. And I was like, all right, okay, nope, never again. So yeah, I would definitely advocate for ahead of time, but give yourself time.
So you were doing a lot of the recording in the studio, but for season 1, I know that you concocted your own studio of sorts, in as much as it was more like a duvet fort. Did you miss the duvet fort?
It's weird because when I was in the studio and I was doing Auto, I realized I'd never done Auto's voice standing up before. She'd always been sat sort of crouched, a bit hunched over in a duvet fort, and your body does different things to your voice when you're standing up. So trying to get the tone right was really hard in the studio setting. And then when I did all of the intros and outros, I did them all at once. I recorded them all at once, but it was in the duvet fort again. And it's weird how comfortable I was in there. It was like I was back in my safe space almost. It was really, really weird. But yeah, I just went through all of the introductions in one. Took about an hour and a half, hunched over in that duvet fort. I'm not as young as I used to be. I think I crawled out of there. My legs were going numb. Yeah, no, yeah. There's challenges to the duvet fort, but it is warm.
Yeah, it's the perfect time to record in the winter. If you want a winter recording booth, pick a duvet and just snuggle
Yes,
up, and it's all good. In terms of
absolutely.
the process of working with actors in the studio, um, I know that when you visualize your stories and when you write them, you have such a clear sense of world and character because it is just all fully imagined exactly as it is. And what I was interested by is working with actors who are so character focused and who bring their own things to a character in their performance. Did working with them so closely in the recording booths and through that whole process, did you learn things about the characters or did you see the characters in a slightly different light through that process?
I think I just saw them in more. It was just more. I mean, when I'm writing now, because I know the actors' voices so well, I write with their voices in my head. What was humbling was that because we were recording the scenes live all at once, it was like listening to an episode while we were in the studio. And, it was lovely having that moment. And there's an interlude where it's quite a long interlude. I think it's about 20 minutes and it's just one scene. And Tiffany Clare and Alex White, who play Valentina and Kit, they were just doing it straight up, all 20 minutes, no breaks. And they did it twice and just nailed it. And we were just in the sort of the sound room, like the mixing room, just listening. And it was like, this is amazing. And they've performed their characters. They did the real proper introduction to their characters in the International Confederation bonus episode between seasons 1 and 2. So we got a proper intro to their characters in that. And there's just an intimacy and a friendship between them that really comes through in that interlude. But it was just magical, like when they're actually when you're recording asynchronously, for every line there would have been 3 takes in a different mood. But because they were together, they didn't need that. It just flowed. And yeah, it was humbling, but it was also lovely as a writer. I mean, it's funny because you ask, like, do they bring anything new? I mean, like, they do, obviously. But Tiffany said to me, like, we were chatting later, and she was like, I would never ad lib Emily Inkpen, because I would never improv Emily Inkpen's world because she just knows everything. So, if I tried to ad lib, she'd be like, actually, no, that's not how it went down in that country because of this treaty with so that happened like 100 years before. and I was like, yeah, accurate.
You need to like just write it all down in like a big massive glossary of like this, and then you're allowed to ad lib. Once you've learned that by heart, it's all good. But no, I think it's true. You are encyclopedic about your world as a writer, but that must be so helpful to the actors as well.
Whenever they ask a question, I tend to have an answer. But it's all up here. And I gave Chris a heart attack pretty much when he was like, oh, there's got to be a place. Can you send me the place where, all of this is written down? And I was like, well, I could, but it's a really scrappy spreadsheet with like 5 things written on each page and you're not going to get much from it. And he was like, you haven't written this down? And I was like, no, it's fine. It's just all up here. I know the world. And, and he was like, you've got to write it down. And the way I said to him, I was like, it's like the world exists. It's factual. I was like, you wouldn't have to write down what a daisy looks like, like what a daisy looks like, because you just know as a daisy. Like it's what it looks like. That's like the world to me. It's like I don't need to write this stuff down because I know it. I know what that place looks like. I know what the weather is like in this location on the planet. It's writing it all down would be an exercise in just it would just be a waste of time, really, because why? It would be like going out in my garden and, writing a detailed description of rhubarb. That would be.
That would be a really good writing exercise. If anyone's listening to it, try that and then let us know how it goes in the comments. That'd be fantastic. If you write a detailed
Yeah.
description of rhubarb, yeah, include it in your comment. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Your characters in season 1, you were ambitious, okay? Because a lot of audio dramas, they have a few characters because keeping track of them all can be problematic. In season 1, you have a lot of characters. In season 2, you kind of double the number of characters there are in this show. What was the thinking behind that? What made you think, well, do you know what? We've already got loads of characters. Let's add a bunch more.
Well, okay. So, in season 1, I think we got like 12 characters, core characters, and it's because they all belong to certain sets. And there's the 4 adults, there's the 3 kids, there's a couple of extra soldiers, and the fleet commander Idris and Raya on the fleet side. So they all have their own little pockets. And then in season 2, it's like I introduce another pocket, and also the Valentina and Kit pocket. But we've already been introduced to them in the International Confederation. So we already know that pocket. So it's like having little pockets of characters. But one of the main reasons for this is because I've already written the trilogy, which happens 11 years later. So I'm on this established timeline, and I'm setting everything up for what happens in the books. Everything, like, I know it's an interesting sort of exercise balancing on this timeline that exists, but also, like, obviously introducing, sort of side quests and everything in the series, but also massively keeping it focused towards this, book 1. And that is a challenge, but also it stops the story from getting out of hand, I think. So there is that benefit. But when it comes to introducing characters, all part of the setup is that there is quite a big cast. This is a big company. This is, like, there's a lot of people involved in keeping this company afloat. And they're all interesting and they have their own stories. And so, yeah, that was really the thinking behind it. And the fact that all of these, like the main pockets, as it were, have already been introduced in season 1. So I thought, well, the audience can deal with another one. Like, they can get that other one. I mean, they're very, very situated. They're in one location basically through the entire series. So we know that when we're in that location, that's where this pocket of people are going to be. And I think that helps. They don't travel very far. So, yeah.
Season 2 is absolute proof that both in life and in storytelling, you can never have too many pockets. It's a fundamental truth of the universe. I love how easy it is to keep track of them all, and how it's absolutely brilliant. But there are a lot of characters, and there are bound to be listeners who will have their favorites, their each individual favorites. In terms of character, I thought we might play like just a little game.
Okay, sure.
Because there's
Yeah.
so many now that that the listeners are going to want to sort of know more about. And I just thought,
Sure.
who would be? I don't know what the name for this game would be. Let's call it Who Would Be. Who would be like the biggest and then let's pick a thing and let's go through it. So who would be like the biggest foodie in the Dex Legacy?
Oh. See, okay, my first reaction is thinking about the adults, but I don't think it would be them because I think they don't necessarily care. They're too busy to care about food. Food happens and that's it. I think it might be Ash.
Ooh,
I can
nice.
see him being really into, food and cooking and stuff. Like, I think that he would be the one who cooks for the rest of them because he likes to look after people, and people who are foodies tend to be like feeders. And so I think that that would be him.
That's awesome. The biggest foodie and the biggest feeder is Ash. I love it. Who would be
Yeah.
the biggest Swifty?
Swifty.
Yeah.
Oh. um, who would be the biggest Swifty? Oh, that's hilarious. Um, weirdly, I'm thinking Osa, but I don't know if it would be.
She loves Taylor Swift. No, that's Osa,
I,
right?
yeah, exactly. What is there not to love? She's a very inspirational woman. No, yeah,
Yeah, I'm going with Osa. I could totally see. I could totally see
yeah.
her at a concert. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, whether she'd go to a concert or not, like she's very busy, but I think she could definitely appreciate the work that goes into Taylor Swift. Sort of, she's worked very hard in her image and her craft, and I think that Osa would probably appreciate that and stick some music on when she's like making her bombs.
Yeah, that Roan missile takes a totally different spin on it when you think that it's been crafted to Taylor Swift music. That's a huge spoiler right there. What a reveal. Okay, who would be the biggest fashionista?
Ooh, who would that be? Oh, so none of the adults in this one. Definitely not. Maybe Varian, because he likes to show off.
Yeah, and he likes to look good for the ladies.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that he would have, if he wasn't in uniform all the time, he would have all the suits and all the clothes. I
Who
think.
who would be the biggest TikTok influencer?
Oh, see, these are all really hard because these kids are like institutionalized and like literally kept away from that. So who would be the? How about Shiv?
Yeah, I can see Shiv being on TikTok.
Yeah, she's got a good energy.
Yeah.
But something
She's
tells me
sweet.
she is really sweet until she gets into battle, and then she's a nutter. But I think she would be one of those people who helps people to be better, on YouTube. She would be like that kind of person. I don't know. I don't know what you call those people, but that's how I would imagine her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I think I can totally hear her saying, click below to like and subscribe. I think totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, who would be
And ring that bell.
ring that bell? Yeah, exactly. Which is great advice for anybody listening to this,
Yeah,
Yeah. Who would be the
absolutely.
biggest gamer?
Haindos.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that straight away. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good. Okay, who would be the
absolutely.
biggest reader?
Ren.
Yeah? I mean, I
He
was
already
thinking
is.
Ren, but then I was thinking,
Yeah.
oh, but what about like Nathaniel? Would he be a big reader? And then I was like, would Otto be technically like a reader?
Well, I
Or
mean, Auto has already swallowed all of the books,
yeah,
so she's like, she doesn't really count. I mean,
yeah. No, let's go Ren. You're right. Ren trumps it. Ren, 100%.
yeah, he's like a massive nerd. He's like, yeah.
Final round, Emily. Who would be the biggest ink penner?
Oh dear Lord. they would all hate me because of what I've done to them. I always say, like, you know, there's all these people on Twitter and everything who are like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if you opened your door and there was your main character on the doorstep? You know, what would you do for like the day if you could spend the day with your MC? And I'm like, I would literally crap my pants if I opened the door and those three were on the doorstep. I would be thinking, if I'm lucky, they'll make it fast. If I'm unlucky, I'm here for a very painful week. And that would be my reaction. So who would be the biggest ink penner? Probably Nathaniel. Because he wouldn't care that I'm painting him as a psychopath because he doesn't care about being a psychopath. He just wants to get his, you know, he just wants to get to his end goal. And he would appreciate the amount of time I spend describing the misery and documenting the process. So yeah, I think that's a
Nathaniel.
disturbing thought.
Yeah. You could have gone Raya. You could have gone Idris. No, you went straight in with Nathaniel. I love it.
Nathaniel, it's got to
It's
be.
got to be
Yeah,
Nathaniel. On the topic of Nathaniel, that provides an
yeah.
amazing segue into what my next question was going to be, because playing Nathaniel is Chris Gregory, who is also putting together a lot of the sound design and a lot of the production into the
Well, all of
season.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing to listen to. There are some incredible moments through season 2. It's not a spoiler to say that there are some, like, the battle scenes are just out of this world amazing. Um, when you're writing it, do you imagine it coming out like that, or is it a surprise to listen to when he puts it all together?
Okay, so my scripts are notoriously bare on sound directions because I like the process of collaboration. So I know, like, I'm very cinematic in the way I describe things. So I sort of say, imagine that you're watching this and the camera is panning back, and then you hear this sound, and then that's in the foreground. And he can visualize it as well. So it's like, okay, so that's the sound sort of distance that she's looking for and everything. But yeah, I mean, the stuff that he does with sound just baffles me. And the so there are times in the script where I'll say, this needs to happen and this happens, brackets, good luck, close brackets. Because I know that it's going to be a pain to make the noises work. And he does it. And, you know, like, yeah, writing a battle scene for audio is hard because it's like battles are so visual that it's like, you know, trying to make that visual, you know, and have the communication going and everything, like, through the, because you have to bring it to life through dialogue, because I made life difficult for myself and I don't have a narrator to do any kind of, like, you know, exposition or, you know, whatever. So it's all very just dialogue heavy. So there has to be this sort of, like, you know, just chatty, 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 or take one single viewpoint and then tell it through their eyes. And yeah, but the way he does it and the way he has a lot of fun because I challenge him basically, and he's just like, oh my god, I'm having, you know, I'm doing such interesting things with this, and I can't wait for you to hear it. It's exciting for both of us, really.
Chris,
Yeah.
if you're listening to this or if you're watching this, can I just be the first to commend you on the squelch? Because there is a very satisfying squelch, and you nailed it. It does the word squelch appear in the script, Emily? Because I feel like there is the finest squelch I've ever heard.
It is a particularly good squelch. I remember listening to it and sending Chris a message congratulating him on the squelch as well. So yeah, it's a good thing. Like, hopefully this will be a moment that fans of the show remember, is the squelch. Um, when you hear it, you'll know.
Yeah. I feel like there will probably be t-shirts which just say squelch on them. You know, there is, and speaking of t-shirts, we talked earlier about some of the merch that you have, like the collected scripts, which is
Yeah.
amazing, and I recommend it to anybody, whether you're a fan of just storytelling, or whether you're a fan of script writing, or a fan of just how to put an audio drama together, or anything related to Dex. It's brilliant. But it's not the only merch you have, is it? How much time and creativity goes into the merch side of the Dex Legacy?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so we also have, I mean, we've got the book. We've also got the entire series. I mean, I don't think this counts as merch, but yeah, the entire series in HD is now available. These are two things that we've brought out recently, and like it's very exciting to be able to bring out. We call it the box set, but you get a link to a Google Drive where everything is in full HD, and the quality of that is amazing. Because when we're recording it, obviously we get it in high quality, and then when we put it onto the platforms, there's a compression that happens which flattens everything out. And one person I know has been listening to it in the full HD version, and they're like, it's like somebody's just opened a door in your home, and it's like you close your eyes and you think you're in the middle of it, and it is a completely more immersive experience. When it comes to t-shirts and things, so I've got a whole range. I call them the classic range, which is really like a sort of very simplified outline of the cover of the book with the three kids and a sort of and a line and everything. And it's I like it a lot. And then we've got the audio drama Kickstarter limited edition T-shirts, which is what I'm wearing right now, which is the Fleet T-shirt, and the limited edition ones have the stars. This is the general. So this is Idris would wear this, and those are for Kickstarter people. I'm going to be bringing out a series of just plain ones without the stars for general sort of purpose for people to just buy. And these are embroidered, and then I've also got like products like stickers and mugs and tote bags and things on there as well. They're all really, really high quality. The sort of the effort that goes into them is a design job. And then we have this company we work with called Printful, and they're really good because they have fulfillment centers all over the world. So I say, okay, whoever buys the product, it will be fulfilled in the nearest center. So there's no shipping around the world. There's no, huge travel. Your T-shirt or whatever has not traveled from, China to get to you in, Shropshire. It's all happened within the UK, and it means that you get things faster. The quality is great, and it's better for the environment. So it's just win-win-win. And yeah, I absolutely love them. So from my side, that is great because I don't have to do anything. I don't have to have stock. I don't have to have a house full of T-shirts of different sizes that I'm then packaging and sending off. No. It's all taken care of, and it's environmentally friendly and everything. So yeah, that's really good. But yeah, it is just a case of uploading the designs to the shop, and I need to do more of it really. I've got some designs for the season, some new ones that I've got to get out. A couple of them are quotes that only come in later. So the episode will be released and then I'll bring out a T-shirt that has the quote on it. So yeah, those ones will have to be special released and actually timed. I can't just put them all up straight away because spoilers. Yeah.
Without spoilers, do you have like a favorite quote from season 2?
Without spoilers. Well, I mean, I guess it's not a spoiler. The Israel one.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so my favorite line is a total spoiler if you know who says it, but it's not really a spoiler if you don't know who says it. So it's like I feel like
Okay,
I can totally cheat on that one. But the
go
Israel
on.
line is particularly beautiful. So it's just whether people out of context it's amazing, but in context it's
Well, hopefully. So the Israel line that I like, I mean, everyone knows about Isra and Ren and everything, but she says to him at one point, "You make me feel like a person instead of a nightmare." And I absolutely love that. And I think it just encapsulates their relationship in one line, really, and the relationship from Isra's point of view.
See,
and what the relationship
and
does.
I knew that when you said the Isra, I knew that was the line. It's like it's so good. Mine
Yeah.
is Goodbye Ren. Yeah, I
Oh.
know, but no spoilers. So, for anybody who wants to check out the merch and to check out the stuff and to check out the podcast, where can people find you?
Oh, well, I mean, the podcast is everywhere. It's free to listen to on all platforms. If you listen to it on Apollo Plus, you get it ad free. So on the other platforms, there are adverts for Apollo Plus, just dotted through. And if you join Apollo Plus, then you listen to it and it doesn't have those. And Apollo Plus is great because it's like you subscribe to it, but the creators get a percentage of it, and it's like 70% goes to the creators. So it's a really high percentage of what you sort of put towards the platform goes back to creating more audio drama. So I really recommend doing it, especially if you're a fan of audio drama. You get bonus content from all of your shows, you get all sorts of things, and you get to know that most of your money is going back to the creators. So it's a really great platform. So if you want to follow the find the show, it's everywhere, and you can subscribe and like and rate and review. Please rate and review. It really makes a huge difference. It makes our visibility, it like boosts our visibility like insanely. Otherwise, there is the dexlegacy.com, where you'll find everything. There's the shop, there's a cast page, so you can go and check out all of the actors. There's links to the book, direct links to the book. There's direct links to the box set that you can buy to get all of the episodes up front. Obviously, that means that some people are just listening to it all now and they're not waiting until the end of the season, but there is a little line underneath saying, please be mindful of that and don't post spoilers. And so far people have been really good, so that's nice. They've behaved. So yeah, the website is probably the best place. So yeah, www.thedexlegacy.com.
And you are at the Dex Legacy everywhere, right?
Yes, except for Instagram, where we're at the Dex Legacy 1. At the moment, the Twitter isn't working because I tried to set it up with a automated posting thing so that I could get really organized with the posts, and then it said that there was an unusual amount of activity and locked me out. And so the Twitter is actually locked at the moment. And I don't know if I'm ever going to get it back. But yeah, Instagram is great. Oh, and we're also releasing on YouTube now. That's an exciting thing that I should promote more because we have it with subtitles. So for accessibility, you can now listen to the show and read as you go. So if you prefer to, like, everyone's watching TV with subtitles now, it's huge because the sort of clarity of audio. There's a whole thing about how directing and how sound has just stopped being clear and started being more real. But that means that clarity of what people are saying has been a bit lost in recent years. So yeah, loads of people are watching with subtitles, and I thought we should probably have the option to listen with subtitles as well. So if you like that, if you're a YouTube subscriber, head to YouTube. And yeah, we've got all of the episodes there, season 1 and season 2 as they're released. So yeah.
If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment about the rhubarb and then search for the Dex Legacy and go watch and listen. But thank you so much, Emily, for joining me. And congratulations on season 2. It's absolutely stunning. So yeah, I hope everybody goes and listens to it and enjoys it as much as I did. Thank you so much for joining me, and all the best with whatever is coming next from you.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun.